factors in that. And not only that, we look at 5-year development plans, but extend that development plan to a longer term, much longer than the life of any government administration. So we look at 10-year, 20-year. There was the suggestion, and there's a practice also being conducted by some countries in terms of looking at longer-term development plans to ensure that even with a change of administration, that development plan is kept on track and disaster risk management is a part of it. And to ensure that aspect of disaster risk management is carried out in all sectors. So without any further ado, I'm going to invite Mr. Horace O'Connor. He was our former cabinet secretary for a number of years within the Cayman Islands government. Presently is at Radio Cayman, for the record, radio, and we have participated in this show since week, and I think we're on Monday again. Right, a very interesting discussion and exchange with the public, because there are a couple of big calls coming in. So he will be our moderator, taking us through this afternoon. Feel free. He is the manager of the session, so he will do the time management. Feel free to ask questions, probing questions, so that the presenters can give you the necessary information you're here for. So, Mr. O'Connor, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Omar, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm not full of Irish yet, so it's Connor rather than O'Connor. But it's certainly my pleasure to be here this afternoon to be able to moderate the session on business continuity and financial center commerce, the lessons learned from Hurricane Island. And just a few words of introduction. Business continuity should consider how employees will play a role in business continuity planning process for hurricanes and other disasters. The human factor in commercial readiness is critical, especially since damage may be widespread, or, as was the case in Ireland, can be considerably widespread. People are our most important asset. That is a common phrase. But business continuity planning traditionally looks at other operations, also looks at infrastructure, IT, and security, focusing on critical business functions and work processes. The impact on the workplace is not adequately considered, thus downplaying the importance and central role of the human contribution to an organization's recovery. Some of the challenges for businesses in the public sector, organizations, private sector, NGOs, to plan ahead for operational and employee resilience in order to ensure employees' availability and functionality during periods of critical needs. And I must say that here in the Cayman Islands, after Hurricane Island, we saw some companies that were certainly ready and prepared, and we saw others, including government, where there was a high level of disorganization, I should say, and not wanting to be critical of too many people. We saw, for instance, where we had police officers who were ready and available, and others who had basically been cut off from their headquarters, from their operational assistance, simply because of the extent of the devastation after Hurricane Island. So Then we saw other companies, for instance, that were in the private sector that were fully prepared, had evacuation plans in place for their employees, and when the airport was open, they were prepared to go. Charter flights were in, ready to take them out as well. So we saw that taking place there. We also had an experience here where we got a helping hand from Bermuda. I recall that we were due to attend the Overseas Territories Consultative Committee meeting in London, which is a meeting of all heads of government in British Overseas Territories. And they normally meet with the Foreign and Commonwealth Office officials. And after Hurricane Ivan, we were unable to send a delegation from the Cayman Islands simply because we were all concentrating on the recovery after Hurricane Ivan. And a helping hand was outreached to the Cayman Islands. At the time, the Premier of Bermuda was the Honorable Ewart Brown, and he agreed that any new company that was seeking to be registered in the Cayman Islands and instead chose to register in Bermuda, they would remit those fees of that registration to the Cayman Islands. That was a commitment that he gave. Now, I'm not sure if it happened, and I don't know if you have anyone here from companies registered that can confirm that or not, but that certainly was a kind of a gesture that he made to us as well. So again, the theme this afternoon is business continuity. And I will go on to introduce our first speaker, who is Mr. Chuck Thompson. Mr. Chuck Thompson is currently employed by the Cayman Islands Monetary Authority. He's been there for 5 years. He's the head of information systems. He previously worked at Fortis Fund Administration, one of the largest fund administration companies. He was the head of IT and facilities at Fortis and was also in charge of the logistics during Hurricane Ivan. So please give a welcoming hand to Mr. Chuck Thompson.
Thanks, Mr. Moderator. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm glad you've all taken the time out to come and attend this symposium here for IDA. Especially a warm welcome to past participants and people who are here from overseas and have great input on some of the previous sessions already as well. You've probably seen a lot of various pictures of island construction, and yes, I have some of my presentation too. So hopefully there's not that many duplicates of what you've seen already. By now, the events of September 11, 2004 in the Cayman Islands are well known. Hurricane Ivan ravaged this island. In the days after Ivan's destruction, I heard many people say that Cayman would never be the same. As people of all financial means and knowledge work together to rebuild, I realized that what echoed over and over in my mind was correct. Cayman might never be the same, but with the amount of effort that I saw going on, we could actually be better than ever before. And I think that has proven the case. For those who lived through this, it was an experience to never be forgotten. But just a few points here to be reminded on some of the statistics. About 90% of the properties were damaged, including 83% of housing stock. Some 10 to 15% of properties were damaged or beyond repair. Roads were damaged and destroyed, utility distribution networks were broken, and the hurricane affected 79% of the population. You have heard from other presenters and my focus is on the perspective of the Cayman Islands Monetary Authority, the regulator for the country's international financial services industry. International financial services and tourism are the wheels in which the economy turns. In fact, the bigger wheel is financial services, which is responsible for a significant portion. Financial services include core services such as banking, insurance, trust, and fund administration, and non-core or support services such as accountancy, legal, corporate service businesses, pensions, etc. The financial services sector is the most significant driver of the Cayman Islands economy and contributions. Approximately 40 to 45% of the country's gross domestic product, 1 billion of the 2.4 billion of the GDP. It also contributes approximately 10 to 30% employment, with 10% being directly employed in the core services and another 20% in the non-core support services. It contributes 20 to 40% of government revenue. CIMA alone collected over 100 million in licenses for the year 2013-2014 fiscal year. Financial services is also a big driver to work permit fees, annual company registrations, and etc. I have presented the biggest test of the resilience of these sectors and the country as a whole. The economic impact of the hurricane was tremendous. The Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean assessed the Cayman Islands losses at $3.4 billion in total. The Commission assessed total losses among the five countries affected by hurricanes in 2004 as $6 billion. This means that the losses sustained by the Cayman Islands were a staggering 59% of the total value of losses among these countries in 2004. The hurricane was a major factor in the decline of Cayman's real economic growth from 2% in 2003 to just 0.9% in 2004. Here's a few pictures of some of what has happened. On the recovery side, remarkably 1 year later, by the end of 2005, the Cayman Islands gross domestic product had climbed to 6%. That level of growth is in itself unusual and reflects the substantial post-hurricane reconstruction activity that took place in 2005. However, it is a significant indication of the jurisdiction's ability to mobilize the resources necessary for recovery within a short period of time. Despite the enormous damage caused by Hurricane Ivan, businesses within the financial sector, including retail banks, were being able to begin resuming operations within 5 days of the storm's passage. This was possible because of preparation. In a post-hurricane survey carried out amongst the banks by the Cayman Islands Monetary Authority, 90% of respondents reported having had business continuity plans at the time the hurricane struck. These businesses were able to resume at least some services almost immediately after the hurricane. Businesses that had not invested in continuity and recovery planning were closed for longer periods of time. The Cayman Islands rapid recovery has been due in part to the recovery of the financial sector. The fact that this sector was able to get back on track with the speed that it did is the result of a number of factors. For one thing, there was a recognition by both government and industry that with the extensive physical damage sustained, the island would not be able to open up for tourism for a while. It was therefore critical that the financial sector be given whatever assistance needed to facilitate its resumption. There was a unity of purpose towards achieving that end. Priority was given to the repair and restoration of electrical, water, and telecommunications to the Georgetown Commercial District. Government agencies such as CIMA resumed operations and were thus able to facilitate the conduct of business. It is unlikely that the financial sector would have been able to take advantage of the restored infrastructure facilities and supporting services without its own contingency plans in place. The island restoration story offers proof of the necessity and effectiveness of business continuity and recovery planning. Our framework at CIMA, as a regulator of financial services, one of CIMA's specific responsibilities is to promote and maintain a sound financial system in the island and to promote and enhance market confidence. Ensuring that regulated entities achieve and maintain a high degree of resilience is a critical way in which CIMA fulfills the responsibility of promoting and maintaining a sound financial system and market confidence. To begin with, CIMA must ensure its own business continuity so that it can continue to carry out its functions with minimum disruption should a disaster threat occur. Not only is the authority responsible for licensing and supervision of financial services, but it's also involved in the management of the island's currency. The provision of these services is crucial to the continued functioning of the financial sector, and in fact, for all residents being able to continue or resume normal activity. It is for these reasons that the Monetary Authority has developed its own business continuity disaster recovery plans. These plans guide the authority on crisis assessment, response management, business continuity and recovery management, emergency management, staff well-being management, and public relations management. Some of the lessons learned from Ivan. Hurricane Ivan demonstrated the value of having alternate locations from which business operations can continue in the event of a major contingency. The authority's business recovery plan therefore provides for 2 off-site locations. The primary one is on Grand Cayman, and while this site is relatively close to our main offices in the business district of Georgetown, it is in a building specifically designed to enable business continuity and afterwards recovery. This site is equipped with backup computer servers for real-time ongoing data synchronization so that in the event our regular offices become unstable, we can have continued access to the information and equipment we need to perform our functions. The other backup site is on the sister island of Cayman and provides a further layer of protection with replicated data. All sites are connected to the authority via a wide area network. To strengthen our ability to maintain telecommunication links with our staff and with stakeholders locally and overseas, in the event that the normal networks go down, key staff of the authority have access to satellite phones. Our business continuity disaster recovery plan was in development before Ivan and contributed to CIMA's ability to resume operations 1 week after the hurricane. The authority has been enhancing the plan since that time. The addition of these off-site recovery facilities is one such enhancement. If I were trying to summarize what the Cayman Islands experience can teach us about contingency planning and becoming resilient to natural shocks, I would offer the following points. Such planning must be multifaceted, involving government, regulatory authority services, providers themselves, and the community, along with your staff. Such planning must consider and address as many potential risks as possible and must find the appropriate balance between risk and resource. While it makes sense for contingency planning to be the most fully developed for those hazards which translate into the highest probabilities combined with the greatest damage potential, countries must expand to develop plans for other contingencies to which they are vulnerable so as not to be caught off guard. Earthquake and fires is another example of those that have no prior warnings. Planning for different hazards should take advantage of synergies by developing plans that can work together, that can utilize the same frameworks, personnel, and other resources as far as possible. Plans must be continually reviewed and must be made to adapt to experience gained over time. It therefore follows that such planning doesn't happen overnight, and in fact, such planning never ends. Perhaps the most important consideration is that contingency planning cannot be successful unless resources are provided and is made a priority at the highest levels of both organization and country. I mentioned earlier in this presentation that most of the financial services entities that we surveyed after Hurricane Ivan reported having business continuity plans, and that the value of such contingency planning was demonstrated in the relatively speedy return to operations of the sector as a whole following the hurricane. Armed with that experience, the authority developed a statement of guidance on business continuity management for all licensees, which was issued in March 2007. The SOG provides a framework for licenses to develop, implement, and maintain their own comprehensive business continuity plans. The measure is in keeping with regulatory principles articulated by the Basel Committee on Banking Supervision, International Organization of Securities Commissions, and the International Association of Insurance Supervisors in the joint forum, which produced a consultative document entitled High-Level Principles for Business Continuity, consultative document in December 2005. The SOG requires licensees to adopt a process-oriented approach to business continuity planning that involves business impact analysis, risk management, risk assessment, and risk monitoring and review. It knows the responsibility of the board and senior management for the effective management of the entire business continuity. It states the need for planning for risks that could cause major operational disruptions. It deals with recovery objectives, communications, training, and testing. One of the ways in which the authority monitors compliance with the standards outlined in the SOG is through the routine examination and inspection process. One of the things we look for during inspections is that the entity has in place sound plans and procedures for business continuity. It is said that the best plans do not cover all issues, but they will cover most eventualities, and they will be sufficiently robust, flexible, and adaptable to today's ever-changing business needs, and provide substantial footing in the survival and recovery phases after a disaster strikes. This is especially true if we are to enable our financial systems and services to be resilient to natural shocks. Preparation is definitely a major key to a good BCP plan. These plans should not be all IT-based. Ivan showed us that even some of the best plans could have used a bit more HR involvement to include staff well-being and communications, including the logistics of transitioning staff to and from backup sites or even off-island. I'm confident that with the work that has gone on before and since 2004, and with continued divine providence, the Cayman Islands is now more resilient than ever we have been before. Thank you.